Welcome to my channel. My name is Adina. I'm an intuitive astrologer. On this channel, we talk about astrology, we talk about spirituality, and in this video, I will be going over the energy of the nodes shifting into Aries and Libra. So if you align with my energy and you enjoy my content, subscribe to my channel and like this video, and also feel free to put any comments in the comment section below if you have any questions about anything. I'm here to help guide you and support you on your journey. So what are the nodes? We have the North Node and we have the South Node, which are always in a direct opposition to one another. And they are not actual astrological bodies in the sky, but they are points. They are points in the sky that represent the eclipses. So where the nodes are where we have the eclipses each year through each cycle, and the nodes stay in each sign for about 18 months. So we have been dealing with the North Node we have had the North Node in Taurus and the South Node in Scorpio since February of 2022. And so when the nodes shift signs, whenever the nodes are transiting through your zodiac, your birth chart, this shows an area of life that's going to go through massive changes, massive shifts energetically, physically, emotionally. There's always something that is changing in these areas of life. And so the first portion of this video, I will be getting into the general energy of this. And then the second portion, I'm going to get into all 12 rising signs. That way you're able to see what energy will be coming up for you, the themes and topics that you will be shifting and changing during this time period. So the nodes, the North Node represents the direction that we are moving into. So shifts and changes that will arise, that the North Node is even this magnetic energy and pull to do something in that area. And it's very fated. The nodes are very fated, very karmic energy, and represents our purpose, our journey, our mission, what we want to do in this life and experience. And so in your own birth chart, you can look at where your nodes are. Where your North Node is will show the direction that your soul wants to take in this lifetime, and a part of your purpose and your journey. The South Node represents past lives, past life karma, an energy that you are used to. This is an energy that we don't want to completely move out of in this lifetime, but there's a letting go and a releasing in these areas. And so the transiting nodes, when they're transiting through the houses in your birth chart, when the South Node enters, there's something that's going to be released or let go in this area of life. The North Node will be a new direction, something you're bringing into your life, something new. And so the nodes are fated, the nodes are karmic, the nodes bring life lessons. It's a part of our journey. Then we really need to create a balance between the South Node and the North Node. Now the transiting nodes, so let's go back for a second so you can kind of see. So February of 2022, we had the North Node enter Taurus, the South Node entered Scorpio. Scorpio can represent things that are hidden, secrets. A lot was revealed that had to do with our government and a lot of other stuff that was secretive. The North Node being in Taurus really brought in a lot of changes to our currency, our financial systems, our food, our housing, all of those themes and topics that are represented by Taurus, that are associated with Taurus. There was a lot of shifts and changes into new directions. And so that can give you an idea of what the nodes can really bring. Now, the currency and all of that, we felt this build up before. However, once the North Node really moved into Taurus, there was this really big push into digital currency. Crypto's been around for a long time, but when the North Node entered Taurus is when we really heard the government talk about digital currency. Now that the North Node is on its last degrees out of Taurus, there's very much this push into completely abolishing money like cash and going right into crypto. And so, or crypto, not digital currency. So this can really show you how these things can be shifted and changed and into new directions when the nodes are transiting through these areas. So now let's get into what the nodes in Aries and Libra are going to bring. So July 17th, 2023 until January 11th of 2025, the nodes will be moving through Aries and Libra. The North Node will enter Aries and the South Node will enter Libra. The really interesting thing about this is that currently with the nodes in Taurus and Scorpio, Venus is the ruler of Taurus, being the ruler and the dispositor of the North Node, and Mars is the traditional ruler of Scorpio, being the dispositor of the South Node. This is going to flip. Mars is the ruler of Aries and Venus is the ruler of Libra. And then so once the nodes shift, Venus will then be the dispositor of the South Node and Mars will be the dispositor of the North Node. So there is this shift in energy. I've been also going on a lot about moving through relationship stuff, which Libra has a lot to do with our relationships, how we connect to other people, even our own worth and how we value ourselves when it comes to relationships, what we put up with, what we don't put up with. I feel like there's going to be a lot of changes around that. There's going to be more of a entering into self-empowerment because that's really what Aries is. Aries represents the self. It's all about initiating. It's all about self-empowerment. It's power. It's discovering who we truly are. And so I believe that during this transit or during this time period that there's going to be a lot of figuring out who you are, figuring out what you're capable of, and really diving into this self-discovery journey, this self-empowerment. And if anyone is not in alignment with you, or you realize that they're holding you back in some way, it's all going to be released. The South Node is about letting go, and it's in Libra, which represents relationships and all of that. So it's like everyone that is moving towards this self-discovery journey and really stepping into who they truly are, there will eventually be this realization of who is no longer in alignment, who needs to be let go in order for you to move forward. I feel like that's going to be a lot of energy that we will all be moving through over the next 18 months. So it's interesting. I have been talking a lot about the North Node entering Aries and this self-empowerment, discovering who we are. I think that's going to be a really big thing. Now, collectively, this can be, Aries can also represent, it's ruled by Mars. So it can represent war, it can represent anger, aggression. There are those lower expressions of Aries that we do have to watch out for. All signs have positive expressions and negative, higher expressions and lower expressions. And each sign has that, each planet. It's the polarity of life, right? Everything has, this higher expression and lower expression. And so we do have to watch while the North Node is in Aries that we are not getting stuck in our ego. We are not being too self-centered or self-evolved in a sense where it's all about me, me, me. And that's what may happen with the government. That's what we may be dealing with on a collective level. And then also war, anger, aggression. But it's really interesting because the collective we're going through this mass awakening, and this is really going to push us into, I'm not sure if you are aware with the Tower card in tarot, but the Tower card is really what we are moving through at this time, where all systems are crashing and everything kind of has to crash in order to be rebuilt. So where it can be challenging, it can be struggling, it's hard to know and understand or, move through. it's a need and a must when we are going to rebuild a system. And so we will be going through more of that over the next 18 months. Unfortunately, it can be difficult. It can be challenging. When the nodes move into Aries and Libra, we will actually be experiencing and having our new moon in Cancer, which will be squaring this energy with the nodes. And so this is really interesting because we will have our new moon in Cancer and then the nodes shift. So it's like there's this energy that is really requiring us to let go of something to really officially make this shift in. And it's a new moon, so it is about major endings, major beginnings, but it's a releasing, and it is at the last degrees of Cancer. It will be at 24 degrees. And then, so when the nodes shift, they will be at 29 degrees. So it's about 5 degrees, 5 degrees away, but it is still forming this T-square with this new moon. Another thing I want you to know is that it will be squaring Pluto exactly at 29 degrees of Capricorn. And so we've been experiencing the square to Pluto with the nodes for a while now. However, when the nodes shift into Aries and Libra, it will come by exact degree at 29 degrees. And so there's going to be this conflicting energy, this need to let go of something to change. I've talked a lot about these T-squares, and in fact, when the nodes officially shift, it's going to make a grand cross with that new moon. The new moon is a few degrees away. However, the energy is still there. And so there's a lot of energy here of things that are just stuck. Now, it's not a fixed grand cross, which is energy we've currently been moving through a lot, is this fixed energy. This is cardinal. This is cardinal energy. So this is all about initiating, getting things started. So this can really be energy of absolutely needing to release something where it is front and center. It's in your awareness. There's no escaping it. There's no ignoring it. There's something that needs to be let go here in order to start this kind of new journey, in a sense, especially when it comes to the nodes moving through Aries and Libra. And it, of course, it depends on which houses. This is for you, the themes and topics that will be up for review, which we will be getting into shortly. But there's a need here to let go. There can be energy here coming up where there's something putting a stop. You may be trying to get something moving, but the universe is putting a stop to it, putting a hold to say, no, you still have to look at this. You still have to move through this. There's something here that still requires your attention that needs to be worked through in order to take those next steps in this nodal journey we will be in over the next 18 months. Then July 22nd of 2023 till September 3rd of 2023, we will have Venus retrograde. And so Venus is the dispositor of the South Node at this point. This is where I believe a lot of us will be moving through relationship stuff, self-value, self-worth. The nodes are now shifted, which is switching the energy, having us focus more on ourselves and who we are, our personal power, and the self. And this is where I really feel like a lot of us will be moving through this energy of who is no longer in alignment, or what old version of myself do I need to let go of. We are going to have a Venus retrograde in Leo. And so, as I said, the Venus will station retrograde July 22nd, 2023, and then will station direct September 3rd of 2023. So it's a couple months, but Venus is now the dispositor of the South Node, and the South Node is all about releasing and letting go. And so Venus retrograde is really going to have us sitting with and really reevaluating who is no longer in alignment with us, reevaluating our self-worth, our self-love, our self-value. These are Venus themes and topics. Venus also represents money, our material possessions. And so this is when we can also collectively be moving through a lot of that money stuff, the banking systems, the financial systems. And so the middle of July to about September, when Venus is retrograde in Leo, and Leo represents royalty, leaders. And so we may see a lot of the stuff with the money, the banking, all of that at this time. Also, like I said, this can be a time where individually we may be going through money issues, or not even money issues, but reevaluating our money, what we want to do with our money. What do we want to invest in? This can be a complete reprogramming on how we feel about money, how we feel about materialistic things. And then, of course, our relationships, our partnerships, and our self-worth and self-value. So you do want to be aware during this time period while Venus is retrograde in Leo, what you will be moving through. I will probably make a video of Venus retrograde in Leo going through all 12 rising signs. So make sure you watch for that. Then you will know the house that this is happening in for you and the themes and topics that you may be moving through. However, the fact that Venus is the dispositor of the South Node, which is a lot about releasing and letting go at this time period, this can be a lot of just realization of what needs to be released and let go of. On September 29th, we will have the full moon lunar eclipse in Aries. And then just a few days after that, we are going to have Mars form a conjunction to the South Node. This is where I think we will really see a lot of sudden changes. We are going to have Mars, the dispositor of the North Node, conjunct the South Node, which is all about releasing and letting go. However, what Mars is doing is, because Mars is the dispositor of the North Node, this is shifting and changing things in order to push us in new directions, because that's what the North Node is. But because Mars is forming a conjunction to the South Node, it's a lot of this sudden releasing and letting go in order to do that. So be mindful the end of September, beginning of October of 2023, when we have this energy. And I, of course, will talk more about this as we get closer to this time period. But this can be a time where there is a lot of sudden releasing, a lot of sudden letting go of things collectively and individually. And these will be things that are just, I keep hearing like ripped away in a sense, because it is Mars. And it's to push us into new directions. So this is energy you do just want to be mindful of. Again, I will talk more about this energy as we get closer to the time. And when I'm going to get into all 12 rising signs now. And I want you to keep in mind that if you have any personal planets or points in Aries, in Libra, in any of the cardinal signs, you may feel this more significantly, like more powerfully. And also, if you have, you also want to know where Mars is in your birth chart, because Mars is the dispositor of the North Node, and you want to know where Venus is. You want to follow these planets while we have this transit, because they are the dispositors of the nodes. So keep that in mind. Now let's get into, well, thank you for joining me. And if you align with my energy and enjoy my content, don't forget to subscribe and like this video. And now let's get into all 12 rising signs. Aries, you have the North Node entering your first house and the South Node entering your seventh house. The first house represents you, who you are, your personality, your character, your physical body, how you view this physical reality. The seventh house represents your partnerships, your relationships, people that you connect with, that you're close to. And so with the South Node moving into the seventh house, there can be a lot of releasing of just who is no longer in alignment with you. There can be a lot of reworking your values around relationships, where you're really going through a lot over from July to January of 2023 to 2025 of what do you need? Who are you? What are you capable of? Your abilities. You are going through a complete reinvention of who you are, what you want to be. And if people are just no longer in alignment with you, there's going to be a lot of discovering that and releasing people. At the same time, you have your second house and your eighth house, which is you have Taurus in your second house, Scorpio in your eighth house. So while the nodes were in your second and eighth house, you've been going through a lot of reworking your money and finances, maybe getting out of debt. The eighth house represents money coming in from outside resources, taxes, inheritance. And so there may have been a lot of releasing a lot of those themes and topics. And with Taurus in the second house, you may have been moving through things over the last 18 months on how to discovering new ways to make money. There's new financial energy here that you've been moving through. And so now it's incorporating all of this together. It will be, how can I make money with this new version of myself? So because Taurus and Scorpio are still ruled by Venus and Mars, which are the dispositors of the North and South node, your second house and eighth house will still be somewhat activated. So all of that money energy that you have been moving through, where you've been reworking your energy, your finances, there's been a lot of that you've been moving through. Now with the nodes shifting into the first and the seventh house, it's going to be now all about rediscovering who you are and incorporating it all together. Taurus, you have the North Node entering your 12th house and the South Node entering your 6th house. And so you are coming out of the North Node in your first house. So over the last 18 months, with the North Node being in your first house and the South Node being in your 7th, you've been already going through this self-discovery journey, just reinventing yourself and releasing relationships that are no longer in alignment. Now it's like, now that you've discovered who you are, you've released who needs to be released, you know who's not in alignment. Now there's focus in your spirituality and your daily routine. The 6th house represents your health, your work, and your daily routine. So with the South Node in your 6th house, this can really be a releasing and letting go of what is no longer in alignment with you when it comes to your health routine, when it comes to your work, when it comes to your nutrition. The North Node being in your 12th house, this can be having you focus more on your spirituality. You do need to watch while the North Node is in your 12th house of isolation, self-undoing, because the 12th house does rule things like self-undoing, isolations, and also retreat centers, places that are hidden, like jails, asylums, hospitals. I am in no way saying that you are going to jail, but I am saying that this can be a time period where you may want to isolate yourself a little bit more. So make sure that you do keep a healthy balance with that. I really do suggest diving into your spiritual practices or even creating a solid spiritual practice at this time and incorporating that into your daily routine. Gemini, you have the North Node entering your 11th house and the South Node entering your 5th house. You are currently coming out of the North Node in your 12th house and the South Node in your 6th house, meaning that over the last 18 months, you may have had a lot of focus on your spiritual practices, your spirituality. You may have even felt like isolating yourself a little bit more because that is what is represented in the 12th house. So you may now, after diving into your spiritual practice and really discovering what you're in alignment with, incorporating that into your daily routine, now you are shifting this energy into the 11th and the 5th. And so the South Node in your 5th house is really releasing and letting go of maybe things that you are no longer in alignment with when it has to do with your passions, your creativity. This can all be shifting and changing. This can also have to do with children. The 5th house represents children. With the North Node in your 11th house, this can have to do with you focusing more on with your online connections, online businesses, connecting with others, social groups, friendships. So there is going to be a lot of focus for you on connecting with others online, your friendships, your social groups, and maybe bringing in all of the spiritual knowledge you've accumulated over the last 12 12 or 18 months with the North Node in your 12th, now incorporating that into and putting that online, maybe even teaching people online everything, all that knowledge, all that spiritual knowledge that you gained over the last 18 months. Cancer, you have the North Node entering your 10th house and the South Node entering your 4th house. The 4th house represents home and family, property, real estate. The 10th house represents career, your public reputation, your legacy that you leave behind after your working years. And so there's going to be a lot of shifts, a lot of changes when it has to do with your career and when it has to do with your home. The South Node represents releasing and letting go. So remember that the node, this is very fated karmic energy. This can bring in a lot of sudden shifts, a lot of sudden changes that can be and feel unexpected. And so this can be a time where you are releasing a home, you are moving. There's something about your living conditions that is being released here and let go of. With the North Node being in the 10th, this means that there can be a lot of sudden changes when it has to do with your career and the new direction that you are moving into. So it can feel quite beautiful. Now with the awareness, we can of course move through this energy a lot easier. Just keep in mind that there is a lot of shifts, a lot of changes when it has to do with your career and when it has to do with your home. Leo, you have the North Node entering your 9th house and the South Node entering your 3rd house. So the 9th house represents long distance travel, higher education, higher knowledge, wisdom, philosophy. The 3rd house represents your community, your neighborhood, your local travel, your siblings and your cousins. And also publishing, writing, speaking, communicating. And so you currently have the North Node leaving your 10th house of work and career and the South Node leaving your 4th house. And so over the last 18 months, you may have been really going through a lot of energy of moving, releasing a home, something changing with your living conditions and your career. Your career has really been shifting and changing over the last 18 months. And so with the North Node entering the 9th house, this can actually be a reprogramming of your belief systems, maybe diving into philosophy or traveling or higher knowledge. Always remember too that the nodes bring in a lot of shifts, a lot of unexpected changes. And so with awareness, we can of course approach this a lot differently, but you do have a lot of changes, a lot of shifts happening when it has to do with traveling, when it has to do with, and also maybe even you focusing more on traveling and also a lot of releasing and letting go of maybe even a vehicle, local traveling, something within your community or neighbors. Virgo, you have the North Node entering your 8th house and the South Node entering your 2nd house. And so this is really bringing in a lot of energy when it has to do with your finances, your money coming in from outside resources, new ways to make money, releasing maybe how you're making money now and moving into new ways to make money. So this can be and feel quite beautiful. You've currently been moving through things around your belief systems and philosophy, maybe even traveling, with the North Node currently being in your 9th and the South Node moving out of your 3rd. There's been a lot of changes around maybe your philosophies, your belief systems, your traveling, your vehicles, maybe releasing a vehicle or something that has to do with your local traveling. Also maybe even changing your community, your neighbors, and how you communicate, writing, speaking. And so now you're incorporating that into, and there's going to be lots of changes around your finances. So this is really interesting energy. With the North Node being in the 8th, you do want to watch and be careful of not getting into too much debt. However, there is a lot of energy here of money coming in from outside resources. With the South Node being in your 2nd, this is a lot of energy of releasing maybe how you are currently making money right now or receiving money. So there is, over the next 18 months from July 2023 until January of 2025, there is going to be a lot of focus and a lot of changes when it comes to your finances. Libra, you have the North Node entering your 7th house and the South Node entering your 1st house. Now, first, I want to touch on for you the fact that over the last 18 months, with the nodes in your money houses, the South Node in your 2nd and the North Node in your 8th, you've been moving through a lot of changes with your finances. Now, with the nodes entering the 1st and the 7th, there's going to be a lot of focus on you and your relationships. This can even bring in new karmic fated relationships, people that are in alignment with you. This can be a releasing of what is no longer in alignment with you when it comes to who you are and how you've lived. With the South Node entering the 1st, which the 1st house represents you, the self, your personality, your character, how you view this physical reality, there can be a lot of letting go of how you have approached the physical reality and what you've realized is no longer in alignment with you. This can also be a lot of letting go of maybe subconscious beliefs and values and when it comes to you and your relationships. The North Node being in your 7th is really going to have you focusing on creating new connections, bringing in new people that are in alignment with you. And so from July 2023 to January of 2025, there is going to be a lot of focus around you, who you are, what is no longer in alignment with you when it comes to who you are, and a lot of focus around your relationships, your personal connections, and bringing people and attracting people into your life that are in alignment with you. Scorpio, you have the North Node entering your 6th house and the South Node entering your 12th. And so the 6th house represents your work, your health, and your daily routine, your nutrition habits. The 12th house represents spirituality, places that are hidden like retreats, asylums, hospitals, also past lives. The 12th house is very karmic. So there can be a lot of energy here of releasing old karmic patterns, old karmic cycles, and a lot of focus in your daily routine, your work, your nutrition and your health. And so this can really be a time where you are completely shifting and changing your health, your work, and your daily routine. So even your nutrition habits, you can really be incorporating these new things that are in alignment with you, like maybe doing yoga every day or juicing. Something is changing when it does have to do with your health and your daily routine, and something is being released when it has to do with old karmic patterns and cycles. This can also be a time where you are really incorporating your spiritual practice into your daily routine. So this energy can be quite nice, Scorpio. Sagittarius, you have the North Node entering your 5th house and the South Node entering your 11th house. And so the 5th house represents pleasure, play, passion, creativity, and children. The 11th house represents social groups, online connections, friendships, your dreams. And so there can be a lot of energy actually right now around having children. This could be a time where you do have children. And remember, it's the nodes. It brings in a lot of faded, karmic, unexpected energy. So if you have been wanting to have children, this could absolutely be a time where that can happen. And personally, I know of people that have had the nodes in the 5th house, which represent children, and they tend to feel like their children are from past lives. They have this karmic connection. So that's really nice if this is aligned with you. But this can be a time where you are diving deep into your passions, your creativity, maybe bringing in new passions and releasing what no longer is in alignment with you. Maybe what you once loved or what you were once passionate about is no longer in alignment, and now you are discovering new things and diving into your creativity. This can be a time where you are releasing friendships that are no longer in alignment with you because it is the South Node in the 11th house. This can be a time where there is a lot of releasing of people, friendships that are just no longer in alignment with you. Capricorn, you have the North Node entering your 4th house and the South Node entering your 10th house. And so this is bringing in a lot of focus to your home, your family, your property. This can be a time where you are possibly moving and buying a home. It is the North Node. Well, the nodes in general are very karmic, very faded, and can bring in a lot of unexpected shifts, changes, and twists to your life. And so there can be unexpected moves. With the South Node being in your 10th house, which the 10th house represents your work and your career and your public reputation, there can be a releasing of a job. There can be changes with your career, with your work. So this is definitely something you want to be aware of, that from July 2023 to January of 2025, there is a lot of focus on your home, your family, your property, moving possibly, or renovating, and a releasing of your work, your career, and shifts and changes in these themes and topics. Aquarius, you have the North Node entering your 3rd house and the South Node entering your 9th house. And so with the North Node entering your 3rd house, the 3rd house has to do with community, neighbors, local travel, vehicles, also siblings, cousins. And the 3rd house also has to do with reading, speaking, writing, communicating. So there can be a lot more focus on these themes and topics. There can be a lot of changes around these themes and topics as well. With the South Node entering the 9th house has to do with long distance travel, higher education, higher knowledge, wisdom, philosophy, belief systems. And so this can be a time where you are releasing old belief systems, maybe focusing on your belief systems, incorporating new belief systems. This can also be a time where there's a lot of shifts and changes, a lot of karmic shifts and changes when it has to do with traveling, local and long distance travel, and also speaking, reading, writing, and publishing. There can be a lot of focus around publishing at this time. So this energy can be quite nice. Remember that the nodes and the nodes bring in a lot of faded karmic energy. And so with these themes and topics, there can be a lot of shifts and a lot of changes. Pisces, you have the North Node entering your 2nd house and the South Node entering your 8th house. And so there is going to be a lot of focus around money, finances, also money coming in from outside resources. The 2nd house represents your money, your material possessions, your values, your attitude towards money, how you make money. And so there is going to be a lot of this focus around your money and your finances, with the South Node being in your 8th house. The 8th house represents money coming in from outside resources and also your partner's finances. So there can be a lot of releasing maybe of old debt, or maybe a releasing of money coming in from outside resources or your partner's finances. So there is a lot of energy and changes and shifts here from July 2023 to January of 2025 with your finances. And remember, it is the nodes. It can be bringing a lot of faded, a lot of karmic energy, a lot of changes and shifts and turns when it does have to do with your finances. And so there is a lot of focus with money, finances, money coming in from outside resources, and also taxes, inheritance, and your partner's finances.